Okay, last time I got into something that is kind of awful to look at, but it's very true and it has to be looked at. We have met the enemy and he is us. We are at war with ourselves. And if we do not moderate this excess of internal conflict, America will be destroyed and will become prey to the kinds of forces that live behind multinational corporations and possibly other governments who might have an interest. Now the thing is, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't believe that's going to happen. But part of it not happening depends on us waking up to these things. Okay? Now the next sections I'm going to call the extraordinary ordinary, because I don't just want to point out this tendency that we have, which is kind of a dark shadow element of the American spirit, where we have met the enemy and he is us. And being in a democracy, we are tempted constantly to be in conflict with each other. And we are now in escalating conflict with each other. You know, one of the weird things that we do as voters in the United States of America that's perfectly understandable on one side, but again a demonstration of the kind of insanity, that is, we elect presidents of one party and we elect Congress and Senate of another party. Now right now we have a situation where it seems like we have both one party in power, and we've had that before at different times, and it still manages to eat itself all the time, and nothing gets done in Washington. Okay? And that's why we need to talk about the extraordinary ordinary, because nothing gets done in Washington. The only place anything is going to get done is out among ordinary Americans, the extraordinary ordinary. You know, there are some people that have a thing that they've said, which I don't think is totally true, but it's a truism. And they talk about what they call the greatest generation. And they refer to the generation that went through the Great Depression and then experienced World War II and then surmounted the evil that poured into the world from the excesses in the center of the world, that is in Europe, and excesses in the East. You know, between Germany and Japan and the out-of-control people there, the world was plunged into a horrible war. And it was an awful time. And the extraordinary ordinary met that. The American spirit met that. And it wasn't just the decisions that were made by Roosevelt or Truman or the great military leaders, you know, the Eisenhowers and the Marshalls and Douglas MacArthur's and all those people one can point to. Those folks don't actually accomplish what has to be accomplished. It was anything that was accomplished by the extraordinary ordinary. You know, Japan attacks us at Pearl Harbor. Anybody standing on two legs went down and joined the army the next day. The army couldn't handle the number of people willing to sign up. Whole families went to war. You know, Steven Spielberg made a movie about World War II, Saving Private Ryan. And what's the story of Saving Private Ryan? Well, everybody in this family was dying, and the government decided that this woman didn't have to give all her children to the war, and so they sent a bunch of people who died in the process of rescuing this one guy. But that's the extraordinary ordinary, okay? We do things that nobody else thinks can be done, and we do them because we know it's the right thing to do. And these are the kinds of crisis we're going to be in the next years. There are going to be right things to do. And one of the things that's going to be hard about it is that we're not going to get good leadership out of Washington, D.C. Those people have lost it. You know, and if we believe we're going to get good stuff out of Washington, D.C., if we think the Republican Party and the Democratic Party have got anything more to say to us that is useful, we're not paying attention. Katrina was the first crisis to show this. There's the Republicans in power, and all those people in that great part of our country, that extraordinary part of America, which we call, you know, the area, the Gulf Coast area, which produces all kinds of amazing things. I talked about it before, about the music that comes out of there, okay? The ordinary, extraordinary people in that region of the world got the crap beat out of them by the weather and subsequently by the inability of their governments at any level to provide what they really needed. We have gone around pretending that the government is going to do the right thing, and they can't do it anymore. The processes of election don't elect people with the right character, and we contribute to that. We vote for them, you know. In another place in my political blog, I say the best thing we can do is vote every incumbent out of office for a generation. If they're an incumbent, vote for the other guy. It doesn't make any difference what he is. We just churn it. We churn Washington. We just make Washington suffer and be more dysfunctional. Not try to heal it. They got to heal themselves, those politicians. They got to go there and understand who they work for. Okay? And now we got the spill in the Gulf, the oil spill, which comes from what? Well, it comes from people in the government not doing their jobs, and then we get around to us, and they're in the way all the time. The government is in the way. Well, you can't do that. There's these environmental regulations. You can't do that. And of course, the Obama administration, well, he was a good politician. He sold us his BS and everybody believed it, hope and change. Well, we got a little bit of change, and where's the hope? You know? We got an election coming up in November, and it's going to be nasty and freakish and strange because the people coming out of the woodwork to run in this election, they are some of the strangest people on the planet. We got all these millionaires and billionaires out of business who think they know something about running a government. And all they got is money. And they didn't necessarily get that money by being good. And then you got people who are just downright idiotic, lame-brained. I'm sorry. You know? They're probably really nice people if they just stay in the grocery store or whatever it is that they're doing. They just do their ordinary thing. But all of a sudden, they want to be in politics, and the various political parties, you know, like happened in Massachusetts with Brown, are saying, oh, yeah, you can be in government. You know enough. Hogwash.